Five, four, three, two, one.
No.
Welcome to the TheoristCast with Lucid and
Pop Bot. Let's do this.
we're just here talking about episode 2 of Loki, or her story, which is because it's not his story. It's never about him. And I just wanted to just talk about, get some of your thoughts on where you think, you know, all this kind of setup. I mean, we had the big event of exploding the timeline, which, you know, everyone has their different theories about. Those dates on the map are actually have some significance. So I don't know. What do you think?
So I don't know about those days on the map. That's really something interesting to get into. And I probably should have did that before we started the podcast, because they did make a point to go over all of these apocalyptic events a couple of times during the story. So I probably should have did that. I haven't looked up anyone else's theories. I just have mine. And before talking about those dates, which I really can't because I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about them, I do want to say that I enjoyed episode 2 far more than I enjoyed episode 1. Episode 1 really seemed like a basic pared down version of Catch Me If You Can with superpowers and an errant timeline. And I wasn't crazy about the fact that Loki is going to be chasing Loki. It's been, you know, me chasing myself. It's been done several times, and I can't really think of a time that it's been done well. So when the episode ended, I brought you in to chase yourself, to capture yourself. I was like, oh. And they said it, you know, with so much, you know, muted fanfare that it's like, oh, that's such a big deal. And to me, it was like, really not. I was less excited at the end of the show than I was at the beginning. That being said, I enjoyed episode 2 more. I enjoy the introduction of Lady Loki. I enjoy the way that story itself was told. The little subtle hints of what's coming with the input of dropping in alternate versions of Loki, not just that Loki in a different timeline. And this is what Marvel does. They say it's not enough to make an alternate Earth. Why should things be exactly the same, right? And I love that they do that. You know, even twins aren't exactly the same. So why would twin universes be exactly the same?
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. Lady Loki herself, I think people are going to have gripes with. I can't have a gripe with her because I just don't know her and what her purpose is and what her story is. I like her being added. I like that. And, you know, this is just me as a guy who I don't know if I'm a feminist, but I like seeing other stories being told. And the fact that female Loki seems smarter and more resourceful than guy Loki from our universe. I love that fact, especially due to his arrogance. And I'm a guy who works in tech, and I'm surrounded by arrogant, smart men. And pound for pound, when the women join the fray, they are better performers, better thinkers, you know, than the men. And
generally, they kind of have to just to get to that level. They have to be way better just to get up there.
Yes, and that's a different conversation for a different podcast. So, but I identify, I don't identify with it, but I like that they put that into the story. And so far, I like Lady Loki. I like that he's just not chasing himself. I want to see how much she is like him and how different she is from him. Where the story is going, I can't even guess at her motive, because based on what she said so far, I believe it is not just power. She is trying to avenge something. And that is more what Loki's drive is. So that's how I feel. If I'm going to make a theory, I'm going to say she's just not trying to take over the timeline like basic Loki is, like our Loki is. I'm going to call him basic Loki. And I think she Loki, her Loki, what do they call him? Madam Loki, Lady Loki. I think Lady Loki is going to have a different goal, and it's going to be a goal that resonates with real humans a lot better. It's not just some dude trying to get power. I realize I'm not the best thing out there, so now I need to be the best thing, blah, blah, blah. So that's my point of view, and that's my first theory. Her goal is going to be vengeance.
It's interesting. It's an interesting theory. I mean, I'm looking at and I'm listening to you, but I also looked up real quick the timeline dates. And you know, there's a lot because I guess there's a bunch of them and a lot of the implications. As I said, I should have gone through it a bit beforehand. But it seems as though she might be attacking possible real events as well as Marvel events. Right? Like one of the locations seems to be tied to Portugal and seems to be tied to the overall colonization, right? And it seems,
I don't think she's doing that.
Well, that's what people are speculating because that's one of the dates that go to it, right? So it's not so much this is what I think she's doing, but the dates that are listed seem to reference real life events. Whether it's like disasters or, like I said, just things like it wasn't so much a disaster, but this was the time that Portugal was colonized or something like that, and led to the whole world being colonized in terms of leading to slavery and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see where they're going to. Right, one of them seems to have to deal with the time when one of the popes was crowned or was crowning a king. Right, so and this is just me scanning stuff, so not really reading or understanding what I'm seeing, but it seems to not just be Marvel events, right? There are some historical contexts that a lot of these dates more than just apocalypses, right? They're more than just apocalypses.
I don't think they're just Marvel events. I think that they are simply a vehicle to move the story forward, and they are serving their current purpose. And their current purpose is Lady Loki has found a way to hide from the Time Lords, to hide from the TVA. That I think so. As far as them being apocalyptic events, I think that is the purpose they're going to serve. They are the only way. So if you have to find a way to hide from Masters of Time, Masters of the Timeline, and she has found it. And Basic Loki has found out what she's doing because he was smart enough to figure it out where none of the other TVA was, because you believe you're so powerful and you're so smart, you know, how are they evading me? And you're like, it's impossible, but it's happening. And they just didn't see that. Now, that's what I think about the apocalyptic events. My theories is it's not going to get any deeper than that, except that it's a way for them to hide. It's a place for them to hide. And the TVA doesn't know how to, find them in these events. And there's so many apocalyptic events that they can bounce from one to the next. She led them to where they are. They didn't find her. So that's another important thing. She's still outsmarting not only Loki, but the rest of the TVA. She led them there and she set this all up. And she's doing this for a reason. The TVA, in their arrogance, they have wronged her somehow. So again, another twist on a basic story, but I want to see how the TVA have wronged her. The TVA seem to keep destroying Asgard. What happened when Ragnarok happened in her timeline, right? And she realized that the TVA has done this countless times. Well, and she's like, are you kidding me? You're going to destroy my entire civilization again and again and again and again?
Well, is it
to serve the timeline?
Is it the TVA? Because it's like Ragnarok. Isn't Ragnarok like a prophecy? Like that's supposed to be, isn't it Ragnarok supposed to happen like within their own Asgardian lore? Like this is our apocalypse. And this is our reborn. Asgard gets destroyed. We get reborn.
So that's a really good point. But if you are a highly intelligent, long-lived god, how did that become prophecy? Did someone discover this? Does someone else know about the Time Lords? Do they know that the Time Lords are just serving the purposes of these timelines, whether it's out of stability or out of arrogance, and they believe this is the same way? It still doesn't minimize the destruction and the pain that can cause.
I think it might have been King Odin. Because remember, even King Odin is still older than Thor and Loki.
I don't know what you mean by you think it might be Odin.
Well, King Odin's the one that's like, you know, he's the all-knowing one, right? He's there, right? Like he's the one, like the prophecy,
Odin, all-seeing,
right? All-seeing Odin, right? So he is the one that's like, and my death brings about Ragnarok, and then Asgard is destroyed, and then we are reborn. I think that's even in the comics. But just reading, but I'm looking at something real quick. Hold on. One of the timelines, like, and here's how it's referencing, like, kind of two of them, like, Marvel events and real life events. 2004 Asgard. And, this one seems to be like right before we meet Thor in MCU, maybe. So it seems as though, and what I'm reading, it seems to be in reference to Thor, son of Asgard, which came out in 2004. And it might hint that Lady Loki is attempting to mess up the status quo of past Asgard, right? So that might be that. Another one, though, references 1390 Rome. And this is then Pope Boniface the ninth? Saw it to that Lady Laudasius was crowned king in Naples at Gaeta of May 29th, 1390. So we're seeing, and they're saying we're seeing once again Lady Loki resetting an important moment in history. So this can mean a bunch of things. But they say in the comics, Kang the Conqueror would regularly go back through history and set himself up to become a political power. So again, this could be another example of when we had our other conversation, that another reference to Kang the Conqueror, right? That this might have been Kang actually being king, right? And her resetting things to, as you said, she's fighting the TVA, and some are speculating that the TVA is one time master is possibly Kang the Conqueror, and they're running, and he's using the TVA to establish his power through time. Because also one of his love interests, Renslayer, on and off again love interest from the comics, is Renslayer, who is our Slayer, the lady judge. So we actually have someone from the comics who is a regular ally of Kang the Conqueror, running the TVA, making all the calls.
I got you. I'm mixing up the characters. I thought Renslayer was the lead tracker.
No, I don't know her name, but no, because he even says it specifically, our Slayer. Owen Wilson says it when she makes him sign that paper. And he's like, all right, our Slayer. And then later, someone else references her as Renslayer. And that's the judge.
I gotcha.
And also...
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that one.
Yeah, and so it is interesting to... And again, as we know, we're getting Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumverse, or whatever it's called. So... with that already being confirmed, this could very well them being setting that up. Considering that both of them, Quantumverse is how we went back in time for Endgame, and TVA, time, right? So
that's really interesting. I haven't dove into those other perspectives, and I like to be surprised by my movies. So the TheoristCast is, I don't mind speculating about where things are going, but I don't want someone giving away a movie to me, and I don't want to give it away to myself. But all of those hold water. I'm interested to see how Kang fits into the MCU. I believe the Marvel universe does a great job of putting in previously minor characters and giving them outsized roles, or giving them the kind of importance that they should have, but they never did in the comic books. For
like Baron Zemo.
Thanos is.
People loved Baron Zemo. His actor. People loved his actor.
people did love Baron Zemo. I can think more of Thanos, because Thanos has always been a thing in Marvel for quite some time with the Infinity Stones and the Infinity Gauntlet. But it's like, here is someone who took over the universe, and you don't really hear much about Thanos, you know? And then you hear nothing except about Thanos when they do their, crossover series. So I think they gave him the importance that he deserved in this last story arc. And Kang is one of those. Kang the Conqueror, time-traveling despot, who deserves that. Baron Zemo, I don't know enough about Zemo to speak of why he should be so loved. I do like what they did with him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. All this makes me just want to have more time to read more comics and think more about these characters. We'll see.
I think that's one of the great things that the MCU is doing, is they are recontextualizing these characters and making them interesting, right? You've never cared about Baron Zemo, but after that, you're like, man, it's pretty interesting motives and kind of villainy, right? Well, in the comic, he's just a dude that occasionally shows up with other bad guys with a ski mask on. Right? That's how I always looked at him, right? I didn't look at him as anyone really important, but, making him one of the, not just a protagonist, but kind of like not a protagonist, but anti-hero. Because he wasn't really a villain, but he definitely wasn't a hero, and like anti-hero. Of the Winter Soldier, Captain Winter Soldier, that it was just a great role to display like the duality of, right, him always firing back on them about the arrogance of even just creating a Captain America in the first place. So he wasn't evil.
I enjoyed that. Yes,
he wasn't just evil. He was just like he was just a naysayer. He was a naysayer who made some really good points, but also was
so
bad. But
that statement you just made, that's what's troubling to me. Now, I don't know enough about Baron Zemo to talk about what he actually did. I can talk about what he did in the movie, which in the movie, in the MCU, Baron Zemo killed hundreds of people just in those few episodes that we saw. I mean, we no kidding saw him put a bullet in the back of one guy's head, right? So that's evil.
But what episode you mean?
There's all these people.
He killed that scientist who was working for a bad dude, right? Like, they're doing that thing that you kind of worry about Loki. They're mudding up like, well, he killed people, but he killed the bad dude doing bad things.
So first, no, that's like you saying,
I'm not agreeing with it, but I'm saying that's kind of what they're doing.
But here's what they're doing. They're saying that the guy who owns the gun or invented the gun should be killed, right? That scientist, he did not kill anyone. He created the super soldier he created the serum, and he's selling it or giving it away, right? Or not even that. He's just a creator of the serum. He's not the one actually taking that gun, walking into a supermarket and blasting people in the face, right? You're gonna kill him. You're gonna kill the inventor of dynamite. Right. So this is what I'm saying. Baron Zemo is that actual guy that he went and killed in that episode, but we won't even talk about all the deaths he caused just to set up, bring out the Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
right.
He killed your daddy.
Yeah, exactly. So, but he killed so many people just to set that up. So that's a bad guy. I understand his goals in the end might be good, but if you kill like half of the Earth's population because you don't want him to ever get cancer, it's like, come on.
Well, that's what Thanos was trying to do.
Well, exactly. Well, no, that's not what he was trying to do. He was trying to keep the other half from suffering. Like, just saying that there's not enough resources for all of you fools. So let me get rid of half of you.
That was my point. Like, right, half of them get
live better.
Half of them get cancer. Point is, he was getting rid of half. He didn't really care about the results. Yeah. He was just like, I made a philosophy, half. All right, the results, because even then they say like when they talk about Gamora's old planet, didn't they die out? I think it turned out that like they didn't, like he lied to her about them they actually fucking died out. It actually did not work.
I don't remember, but that's another great point.
I could be wrong, but I feel like that's something I remember where it was actually he's been lying about the fact that they're happier. That's just all he cared about, or he says so, right? That message to tell you what he want, but really it was mayhem, right? They just died out, and it was like, whatever. I still win, right? But what you're saying? I'm sorry.
No, I think that's a great point. I don't remember them making that in a movie. I vaguely remember reading in the comic books that the worlds that he did cut in half, they were better off because there were less people to take up the resources. And I, again, vaguely remember them bringing this point up in the MCU. Like, of course, everyone was heartbroken because of all the people that they'd lost, but the Earth as a whole was better. Resources as a whole, there was more. So I don't know where to fall on that. There were still a lot of bad things that were caused because of what he did. Yeah. I mean,
and I could be wrong. Yeah, her Gamora's planet could be thriving, right? But I have this weird memory, and maybe someone in the comments can correct me. But I have a weird memory that somewhere someone said that actually her planet died out because of what he did. And so his theory isn't perfect, right? His theory of like, so some places do thrive. Like, of course, the Earth, we're actively killing the Earth. So yes, half of us, we saw through the coronavirus, where most of us stay inside, the Earth actually does a little bit better, right? We stop freaking driving our cars. The Earth actually somehow does just a tad better.
Yeah, for sure. So. I do like that they made this Thanos not just a evil despot, and I like that about Baron Zemo. He's doing bad things, but these are very intelligent people with ultimately, what they want to get to is good. It's just the way to get to there is horrible. But they've got a point. Now, is that point that they're trying to make, or is that system that they're trying to establish worth those lives, right? Is it worth one life? And this is a question. Those are complex issues, right? It's
honestly, that's kind of what's going on. Sorry.
I'm saying it's we continue to struggle with many of the same questions today for different reasons. So go ahead. You were going to say?
To me, just saying that, it's just made me realize it's one of the reasons why, because we were talking the other day or just yesterday about how DC is just not doing it. And everyone knows that. But it's the sheer difference about why Marvel is doing well. Things might feel the same, costumes, jokes, whatever, but their villains are something that only like Christopher Nolan was really able to, someone like Christopher Nolan was able to compete with, right? To give us villains that are compelling, their reasonings are compelling, that part of you is kind of like, but they got a point. But I really don't like, but then also be like, but he did just blow up a hospital. Really? Like, you didn't have to blow up a hospital to do that. But while then we have Justice League. We have Justice League, and it's just like, horny dude. Guys with horns and spikes all over himself.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's just bad guys for the sake of being bad. Even Joker, I love, no one can question Heath Ledger's Joker, even Jack Nicholson's Joker. They were amazing Jokers, but Joker is chaos, right? And it's so much easier, and the stakes are so much lower when you're fighting just chaos, right? You just prevent them from doing bad. The problem is the bad keeps coming back again and again until you permanently do away with them. But there's not a moment where you consider, where a rational individual considers siding with the Joker or seeing any points that he's making, right? So when you have Darkseid, wanting to bring darkness to the universe,
enslave all of life with the anti-life equation.
Anti-life, yeah. When you have that guy, that fucking guy, right? When you have that guy, like, let me enslave all lives. Like, there's never a second where you are like, it's like, consider what he's saying. Let's consider enslaving dark life, or, considering enslaving life with the anti-life
equation,
or antimatter, or
it's like
let's consider just
equation.
Chaos and or making cities kill each other. Let's consider doing that, and it's like that's never a consideration. So you're right. That was a movie. This is a show, right? And it ends there it ends there. You go home once the good guys defeat the bad guys, and you never talk about it again. But when you have, when you have a character like Thanos, right? When you have a character like Zemo, it inspires other conversation. Of course, we're not going to talk about
characters like Killmonger, right? Like Killmonger for a while was everyone's favorite villain. They're like, Marvel has the best villains after giving us Killmonger.
Yeah, and his speech at the end, again, the way he had valid points. It's just the way he wants to attain his goals. They're the worst, right? And they still didn't even touch on Thanos, right?
Yeah.
So. And they came close to Zemo, but the Killmonger in the MCU is so much better than the Killmonger in the comic book, who's a giant monster. But anyways, but you're right. You need characters, who's evil for the sake of being evil. I'm asking that question. It's like, we don't want those characters, like just bad. It's too evil. It's too simple. There's not enough to have you relate in any way to this person doing this set of horrible, horrible things, right? So you're right. Marvel is executing that better. With Loki, I like what they're saying. I am not a fan of the spin, and we'll see how far it goes, of turning Loki into this, anti-hero, this kind of good guy. I love that they made Lady Loki kill these other TVA members, because even if Kang is at the top of the TVA, like what you're saying, the rest of the TVA don't know this. They're just cops trying to do their job to the best of their ability. Now, they went to measures, I won't say great measures, they went to measures in episode 2 to show that some of these cops are assholes, right? And I thought that was so interesting, right? Yeah. Some of these cops are assholes pushing on people, and it's like, he's gonna die anyways. Like, that was great. At the same time, you have Lady Loki shanking someone from the back, just straight up shanking them. It's like, okay, what are your goals? Why are you doing this? And in what situation is shanking a cop okay? You know what I'm saying? Right.
So, but then, like I said, we might find out later that it turns out the chief of police is a world conqueror. You know what I mean? It's Kim Jong-un of time. Right?
That very well may be so, but again, do the rest of
the cops deserve
the trackers know this? Yeah, exactly. Do they know that that's even the case? Right?
Well, it seems as though from what Owen Wilson's Mobius talks, no, they don't. They're very much, I believe, and could be an allegory to the current system, right? Like, I believe in the system, but the system in itself is inherently too powerful and just stinking of abuse, right? And that goes all the way to the top, that even if a lot of the people in it want to do good, their actions still
it's too corrupt, it's too broken,
still results in destruction, evil. Right? And like you said, that might be the result of, or it might be why Lady Loki's getting revenge,
Or doing,
I prefer it to be going revenge.
After bad folks.
Like, I prefer it to be revenge. Like you said, I'd rather it be evil as opposed to be like, I'm here to stop the bad guys. It's more of, no, you crossed me.
Yeah.
I'm going to cut you.
Yeah. It's like you can't take the god of mischief out of their timeline, try and delete them, and expect no consequences. So I enjoy that. At the same time, don't try and tell me that this, individual who's caused the demise of heroes and regular folks, or I should say that caused the demise of just many, is like, don't try and paint him as, he's just another person.
He's a troubled
right?
soul.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not picking up a gun and, blowing my neighbor's brains out or walking across. Come on, man. Come on.
Try and paint that picture. Senate invasion of New York, basically, because remember, that was our first real Avengers Assemble. It was Loki literally killing hundreds of people in New York.
Well, more than hundreds.
Only to find out that he was a little middleman.
Yeah,
it wasn't even his invasion.
And think of what his goal was. I mean, think of what's going on right now. Think about I'm reaching a little bit, but consider what's going on in Ethiopia. Consider Russia's takeover of Crimea. But Loki's goal there was for him to become the ruler of Midgard. He wanted to rule the entire planet. And to do that, he was willing to kill as many people as he needed to because he felt he should bring order to all, and in so doing, improve the lives of everyone under his rule, even if it took destroying millions or billions of them.
I don't even want to say it's improved. Remember, original Loki, especially Loki, God of Mischief, he wanted to rule because he felt it was always, it's my birthright. My birthright. Yeah. My birthright. It was always, how come Thor has this and I can't? Right? And that was always kind of his portrayal in the beginning, before they kind of started shifting him, especially in Thor Ragnarok, was very much, I deserve to be in charge of Asgard. Why are you in charge of Asgard? And he's like, oh, I'm adopted? No, screw you. I'm taking over Earth because I deserve to be a king. That's really was all, so he's like, I'll kill people for it, which is kind of Loki, right? It makes sense, right? It's like, what, to attribute, why would he want to make the lives of humans better? He's just a guy that wants to be in charge, which is...
So I'm going to throw a theory out there. I hope that this turns out. I mean, I believe I believe Lady Loki is seeking vengeance. I want to hope, and this is just me thinking, that Marvel has already embraced some of the modern twist on the tropes of why things happen. So the trope that power corrupts, ultimate power corrupts absolutely, or absolute power corrupts absolute, power corrupts absolutely. That I've been reading books in the past couple of years that have trumped that, where they give these characters who had nothing or just mediocre lives from where they came from. A lot of this is in lit RPG, and they start giving them power, and these characters actually take this power and do it and use it for good for the most part. Now, of course, this does sometimes entail, destroying other characters who are, air quotes, evil. So I hope that Marvel embraces that. I want to see her seek vengeance, but I want to see her talk about having this godlike power and using it to change the timeline in this instance to better serve those under this corrupted power. Let me use my power for good versus evil.
So you're hoping that Lady Loki is good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because it'll give me two things. It'll give me the twist on the trope of power corrupts, yada yada. It'll also show that people can change. Like, here's a god of mischief, and this is what was happening to Loki because of the tragedies that has occurred to her, that has happened to her. she realizes all the destruction that she has wrought, right? I realize all the evil that I've done. I realize what losing your loved ones are. And I have all of this power. I have the ability, I have the power to actually make things different. What can I do? So let's hope they do something like that, because that story doesn't happen enough, you know?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess.
In my opinion.
I don't really have much of an opinion on that. I mean, if that happens, okay. I guess I wasn't super excited about Loki, so it wasn't really a show that I had huge on my radar for being like, oh yeah, this is gonna be it, and this is gonna really open up. So like, I never really cared about the character. I mean, he was interesting, especially in Thor Ragnarok, but you know, that's about it. So I'm more interested in the implications of this show has on the larger MCU, as opposed to whatever really they're doing with the story, because like you said, it does feel like a catch me if you can, and maybe they might turn it into a twist that the criminal we're looking for is really a good guy, but which I have felt has been done before. I can't necessarily give off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, it's been done a million times, right?
But it does seem a lot of jumping to be like, I think
The Fugitive.
I think that really means that the TVA has to be really bad, because again, it opens up the question: well, if she's really good, why is she killing these technically innocent cops who are just doing their job? Yes, some of them are assholes, but not all of them, right? And what was that one girl?
I agree with that 100%. But what do you do with what does that matter if you're just seeking vengeance and you're the god of mischief? But you're right, that one girl, to me, I know you got your point, so don't lose it. But the girl at the beginning of the series in episode 1 that was left with the kablooey or kaboom gum, and it's like, what is this about? What's happening here? And why did she survive? And why is she giving this message? And that's like such a big hole in the plot if they don't shore it up, which based on episode 2, they will. There's going to be a reason for that. But what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say just like her motivations are weird. Like, for example, when she took the girl, where did she take her to? I believe she probably took her to where the time keepers are, because she was like, it's real. I was like, okay, clearly she saw something that they've never seen before, even for a time jumper. So what haven't they seen? Probably the timekeepers. And that might be the scene that you might have if you take someone who might be in the church, right? They sing the hymn and stuff like that. And then angel comes and takes them to heaven and then brings them back, and they're just tied up somewhere. You're going to have that person just be like, it's real. Oh my God. You're going to be like, this person has lost their mind. Like, I don't think there's any way any human person, anything, like, I don't think there's any way for us to really be able to see really heaven or hell without it completely breaking us. Right? And that goes for someone who's not, who doesn't really follow religion, who was raised religious, but is no longer really religious in that sense, more spiritual. But I just know, like, there's no way the human mind can handle that. Our minds break over lesser shit. Lesser, regular, human, real life stuff, our minds will break. And we'll go insane. There's no way someone can be taken to see literally where God is and find out that everything is actually real, even if they kind of believe it. That's why I specifically said someone from the church and not like an atheist. But even taking someone from the church, hell, a priest, and taking them there and being like, whoa, and being like, and then taking them back to eternity and then back, right? And then just like, all right, bye. What is that priest? That priest is done. That priest is now a lunatic. He can no longer be in charge of a church because now he's a crazy person.
Yeah, I agree. I think it could very much be something like that. And I have not put enough thought into what she kept repeating to herself. I see that if we're going to continue, as we continue doing this, like, I'm going to need to watch these episodes more than once, because that's just how my mind works, you know.
Yeah, it's unfortunately it's just so hard with the, like I said, considering it's TheoristCast, and you know, sometimes considering when we're talking about Captain Falcon, we'll say something and the very next episode they reveal it. These are very short series, so there's not like several seasons where we can talk about something now and it won't be revealed for 3 seasons from now. We're gonna usually get it within an episode or 2. So yeah, I know it can be difficult to watch. Even I have a hard time watching the episodes multiple times before we have a chance to film the episode. But you know, that's what we committed to till then, unless we could get some sponsors somewhere and we can actually afford to have the time. Cough, cough. But
indeed.
But
that's the dream, right?
But there's some things that I've been hearing about that even I missed. As I said, I have to watch it again, mostly because I am just watching it with KK, and we're watching it while we're both, you know, talking our stuff and kind of theorizing among ourselves. We are trying to just enjoy it as a show, which means we will miss details. I think apparently somewhere there was a Peggy, like an Agent Carter cameo, maybe like Peggy is either maybe in the trailers or in this one of these latest episodes. Peggy Carter apparently was taken by the TVA or something, right?
Really?
Something like
that's.
Like something vague in the background, cool. Right?
Yeah, I want to go back and actually watch more. I just don't know if I'll have the bandwidth. I feel that with Loki, and maybe it's just a feeling, like, I don't know. I know there were a good amount of Easter eggs in WandaVision.
Yeah, this one's going to be, I know what you're saying. Like, this one is going to be, so, like, it's going to be every scene there's a new Easter egg.
I feel that I've already been feeling that, and it's hard to stay in the story and then think, do I know that character? Is that an Easter egg? Is that from something I read? It's hard to stay in the story and do that.
Important? Are those numbers I see important?
Exactly, and it's like, I don't want this to be work. There's little enough entertainment and joy in the world as it is. I don't want to, sit down and watch an episode of Loki and feeling like I'm going to work again.
I have to pull out a notepad and paper. What is that?
Exactly.
But to be honest,
what was that?
That's what we leave people like Film Theory, Matt Pat, to do, right? You and other people. I know there's other theorist channels out there. I'm sorry, I don't really watch them. So we all have our own TV shows, we know.
And it's enjoyable to them, right?
Yeah, they love doing it.
You need to do the things that make you happy. I enjoy watching a show like Loki and telling you why I appreciate the way the story was told, telling you why I appreciate some of the beauty in the scenes and the simplicity of delivering some lines and, giving a person 2 pages worth of information in 3 or 4 lines in a scene. To me, that's great storytelling, and I can go the opposite direction and tell you why this is jumping out, but tell you why I can watch 20 minutes of The Infinite and be like, are you kidding me? A movie with so much potential, a storyline with so much potential, delivered in such a lazy garbage way that it's painful to watch. So,
dude, if you had, I don't know if you've yet to watch Mortal Kombat, but that's exactly how I felt. I was like,
yes.
Yeah, I
haven't watched Mortal Kombat yet, but I will, just for the fight scenes. But I don't know if you watched The Infinite yet. And I love the actors. Well, I love the 2 main actors. I enjoy the 2 main actors. I love one of them. And I feel like that story just has an amazing amount of potential, and it shouldn't be a 2-hour movie because there's just far too much to unpack. But it's been kind of done, but I like the way they were doing it, and you've got to watch some of it. It's like the goal of the 2 sides.
What streaming channel is this?
Paramount. You can get it on Paramount. Yeah.
We might sign for a trial. Maybe catch that Rugrats. People said it's not bad. The new 3D Rugrats. I just like the art. But But I would say in terms of story that has great potential and has been keeping up with that potential, and I cannot wait for you to finish it so we can talk about it spoiler free, is Sweet Tooth. Right?
Okay.
Because unfortunately there is a season 2, so that is going to give us space to theorize on that.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll try and finish it here in the next week or so. And then we can dive into that. I've been enjoying it. It's got some dark spots in it, but it's one of the shows that have been, bringing me a bit of happiness. I love the main character. I love his bubbliness and his positivity. And
I don't know. He just reminds me why I never want to have kids. Like the amount of times that man has turned around and he's like, don't go anywhere. Ooh, what's that over there?
I love that because it's so true, and he reminds me of why I want to have like 30 more kids. I love that character. And just to finish up my statement with me personally, just to get personal, I love my sci-fi. I love my dystopian sci-fi. I love my zombie flicks. But those movies coupled with what's going on every day and what you see on the news, because there's not enough happy news, even though there's a lot more happy things going on in the world than there are bad things. It's sometimes too much. So if I can get an escape, a show that's quality, that is just happy. So I don't mean the weak sitcoms with the laugh tracks in the back, because that is just grates on my sensibilities, grates on my nerves. But a show that is like something, again, we discussed this a little bit, like Ted Lasso, or a very positive show like Us. Those I need those shows, and Sweet Tooth right now fills that requirement, as well as being dystopian future and having sci-fi and a little bit of what seems to be almost magic. But I'm not deep enough into it yet to know if that's a fact.
Well, as finishing season 1 and no spoilers, I can tell you there is no magic.
Okay.
But that's all I want to say, because I do have feelings about how the story progressed. I'm not unhappy about it, but I'm like conflicted, and I can't really talk about those, especially what I'm conflicted about, without really giving away big mysteries, right? Okay. So, but again, like they'll answer enough this season that the mysteries are answered, and now we're like, okay, what's going forward? Right? So I'm interested in that. I don't really care to read the comic, because I heard the comic, like, they're completely different stories, and the comic is way darker. But to talk quickly about stuff you like, light warming stuff, because I know before we were talking about off the air, we were talking about cartoons and how, DC and Marvel and Disney treats cartoons for children, but, make plenty of cartoons for adults, or just family and people, and cartoons for everybody. Anime does really well with that. We're not just having cartoons that are just for everybody, every age group, but plenty of things that are feel good. Right?
So I'm going to gripe for 1 second and just take this as a small miniature gripe. We don't need to go off into a whole other world, right? And my one gripe with anime, and it's probably not a reasonable gripe, but I'm not crazy about the lack of diversity. Love some of the stories. I love the characters. I just feel that the delivery of every character looking, the same race, many the same sex. Like, there's some animes you can watch an entire episode and see nothing but guys, right? And if the woman is thrown in there, in some, and if there is a woman thrown in there, she's being rescued by a guy.
Or sexualized.
Or overly sexualized, right? So that's my only gripe. But I don't want to harp on it, because many anime is really, really good. But I struggle with that. Like there's shows that folks have recommended to me that I want to watch, and I get into episode 1 or episode 2, and I'm like, I'm enjoying the show, but I'm not enjoying the fact that this is the only character being presented to me, or these are the only characters.
I will say that,
and it's hard for me to keep watching.
Well, I will say, and as someone who's, someone who lived in Japan for a bit, not to put too much of your stuff out there, but it's like, I figured you understand, like, Japan is pretty homogenous. So that is still one of the places where it's like, blame Romanians for making cartoons that feature just, Romanian people or Europeans. It's like, we both know some of them have never seen a black person before in their life. Right?
That is one thing I can agree with you 100%. My rebuttal to that, even though it's a weak one, and again, I say this as a small complaint about anime, but my rebuttal to that is pants. That's all I have to say. I brought up pants before.
Sure, yes, but
if you are a creator,
but now
and you
there's
want
plenty
to
of black
expand your
animes now.
audience,
We're getting lots of new animes now. It has been,
and there's more coming.
Yeah, and there's been changing.
There's a few diverse ones.
There's been changing, and a lot of that really has been. And I'm sorry not to cut you off, but it's like because I've looked up this stuff too. But a lot of it has been because there was black people in Japan. Right, writing for these studios and getting hired to make stories for these studios. So it really is just that. It wasn't so, it's one of those things where I wouldn't necessarily try to blame on like racism or prejudice or anything. I think it's just it was just a lack of diversity of people in the field. But now that there are black animators, black writers, and creators living in Japan, right, who love anime culture. They're not just there, but they love this. They wanted to go there to make animes. They're the ones making the animes with people of color, and there's even older animes that are more diverse. Cowboy Bebop is a bit diverse. Without them, I would say I can't really attest to their sexualization.
Let me just make a point before you go on. I do not believe that any of this has anything to do with the traditional reasons why American media is not more diverse. So I'm not putting that in the same bucket at all. I don't believe that it has anything to do with racism or not acknowledging that another race exists and they deserve to have their stories told. It's not that at all. I do believe it's simply because, this is a genre that's created by a very homogenous society, and they're writing, that type of story. So their brains just don't reach out and work that way. And what do they know about other races and cultures anyways, for the most part? Not saying that they're not intelligent and worldly individuals. So I definitely do not believe that the reason I'm not seeing more diversity in today's anime is the same reason why, when I picked up a comic book in 1982, that I would have to spend days searching a comic book store to find a black character in the book.
I will say what they know is a fair argument, because if we look at some of their examples of us, like Dragon Ball Z and etc., it wasn't great representation. So unfortunately, what they did know about other cultures is what white America generally fed them.
Of course.
So we still can't kind of attribute to that.
And this can be said for many.
Right, but anyways, that's not the conversation.
Just to touch on that. But you were bringing up that anime gives you feel-good stories. So what's your go-to feel-good anime?
At least in terms of gender diversity, and it's just a happy. I think I told you about this. The Disastrous World of Psyche, or the Disastrous Life of Psyche K.
You haven't told me about that.
Yeah.
Where can I catch that?
Netflix and maybe even Hulu.
Really?
Yeah, it's and probably on Funimation, like on of them, but it's available. Unfortunately, there is only one season in English dubbed, and while I can't attest for the other seasons, well, there's only one official season. I guess they rebooted it, but it's a bit different. I didn't like it. But that first season in English dubbed is perfect for Americans, because it's that great middle meeting of Japanese comedy, but understanding American sensibilities, right? Mm-hmm. So understanding where their comedy and our comedy intersects, and making sure that through the English dubbed, the jokes land. because when you're listening to in Japanese, everything is extremely fast. So I know, like, if you're someone that has a hard time reading subtitles, it's almost impossible for you to keep up with the show and really catch any of the humor, because a lot of the humor is very quick and sudden, and it kind of hits you, and you gotta like, wait, what the hell did they just say? Wait. What was going on real quick? And it's one of those like kind of late reaction hits that when you start thinking about it, gets funnier as you think about it. Right. And a lot of it is and it's very tropey if you think about like One Punch Man, how it's very making fun of the superhero, soju, anime trope, right? Superpower, way too powerful. You got a guy that's too powerful, right? This one is making fun of the psychic trope, right? The slice of life genre, and also psychic ability genre, right? Where how you'll have someone that's like, oh, slice of life, but they also have kind of a power that makes their life a little more interesting. Well, his thing is that he's pretty much the psychic version of One Punch Man, right? And I think he came first, but basically he's super powerful. He has such, his psychic abilities are so powerful that he's super strong, can fly, teleport, anything. He can literally, whatever the story needs, he can do it. But the problem was the same thing with, Saitama, it's annoying. Like, for example, he can hear everything in a 50-mile radius and like everyone's thoughts. So the minute he wakes up, he's constantly hearing thoughts. Right? His parents. So
what's the name of it? The Disastrous World of Psyche?
The Disastrous Life of Psyche K. Something like that, right? But the very first season, because they did reboot it in English, but they changed the voice actors a bit, and I think the writing was changed a bit for the reboot. But this one was very much, but this season is an English dubbed of the first season, but it's a perfect English dub, at least in terms of like a listening experience, right? Okay,
I think it's just called Psyche K.
It might be, because like I said, there's two versions now. Netflix rebooted it, so Netflix has two versions of it. But
I see that's so crazy.
But the one,
I don't know which version to watch. Netflix original version.
You watch the anime version. The anime version will have, like, if you look at season 1, they'll have an English dub, but season 2 will not. That's how you know that's the original Japanese version, because I just never watched season 2 because we try to go through an episode and you just can't get through it. Or at least as like a non-Japanese speaker, the jokes are I'm having to rewind just to read what they said, which is something I often, even for me, who's often watching anime and doesn't have to do that, right? Is kind of like, wait, what was the joke? What happened? Wait, did a joke happen?
So watch the version with 3 seasons, not the version with 1 season.
Yes. But then again, you can only enjoy 1 season, really. But it's so funny that it's so feel good. And it's like, it makes you wish that there were more. Cause it is such a show that you're just like, there's no problem. Now issues happen, but again, it is like a sort of like a sitcom, slice of life, but it is just wholesome. It's a really wholesome show, making fun of, really wholesome animes, with superpowers, and it's smart too. And that's also the thing. It expects you to have a kind of an understanding of these tropes, and you to be a bit smarter, like understand that we're making fun of these things, right? So they don't treat you stupid or like hold your hand. Like there's one episode where they're repeating 100 over times, like, but in just different contexts. And then the main character's like, what the hell is going on? Is it fun to say? What are we doing? Right? But at first you don't realize it, and I'm giving away, but it's something that like you might not realize. You're like, and even then I watched it like 3 times and it's still hilarious every time, because it happens so quickly. If you're not listening to what you're saying, you're missing crazy random shit that you're like, are you guys on drugs? And if so, this is awesome. I don't know how you...
Yeah, I'll check it out. So
yeah, if you just want, fun... something I think even maybe... I want to see if Pet would enjoy it. Because like I said, they are... Even in English, they speak fast. So that's how they know they do really well. They got really good voice actors, and even changed some of the writing a bit to make sure it flows well making these jokes in English.
But you just said don't watch the original version, not don't watch the other version.
Yes, watch the original version with 3 seasons, but watch the English dubbed of the first season.
Okay.
They did a reboot. The one with 1 season is a reboot that is in English. I just didn't find it as funny. I couldn't get through it. But I've watched that other one like at least twice. Like that's how funny I found it.
Yeah, man, I'll have to check it out.
I think we got our theories out. We'll have to see come Wednesday what they kind of drop on us. We only have 4 more episodes, so again, I wasn't really blown away by what was happening this episode, considering there was only 4 more episodes left. Especially with the twist of it being Lady Loki, I'm like, cool. What are we doing for the next 4 episodes? But hopefully they have some interesting.
It keeps getting better.
Yeah.
I wasn't crazy about episode 1. I enjoyed episode 2 far more. The writing, acting is amazing on all the episodes, but the story and the writing I think has improved in episode 2. I'm interested to see where it goes. So, we'll see what happens on Wednesday. Like you said, I'll try and just enjoy the show, sit back, and enjoy it, and not, think of it as
homework.
I'm sitting through a professor's lecture. So, So I am interested.
And I'm hoping that they at least bring in, if they're going to go through all this crazy, ridiculous, at least give us a Phil Coulson cameo. Right? Just hey, how you doing? Oh,
you need to start putting out your own fan fiction about Phil Coulson, where he goes and what he does. If I was going to do a fan fiction about Fitz and Simmons, because they are precious and they need to be protected, and the MCU better not wipe them away. Yeah, I got to catch up with Chio. You're on your Fitz and Simmons game, so
I can be fine with Daisy. Daisy or Sky, she do what you need with her. I don't care, but you keep Fitz and Simmons and May. Everyone else can be worked with. Like even Coulson.
Okay.
Even Coulson can be worked, but Fitz, Simmons, and May, you can't touch those people. They are very special to the fan base.
So start your own fanfic with them.
I won't, because that's creepy, and Yeah, this is a good place to wrap up the show. This is TheoristCast with Lucid
and Pop Bot.
We'll see you guys next week.